And, I'd like to touch on your point in a minute here about what did the people in the last ice age do? That 10,000 years of warmth between the last ice age, warm period, ice age, now warm period. We had the same 10,000 years as those people about 118,000 years ago. What did they do for 10,000 years, 118,000 years ago? That's what I want to know too. Like, what kind of tech did they develop in those 10,000 years of warmth?
I mean, I can buy the standard cataclysm model of being set back. However, obviously, we've never been set back all the way. In other words, each era had leftover knowledge, literature of some form, maybe oral tradition, but they also were taking over some layer of technology. Do they just recycle this idea until the civilization collapses, start over, introduce new money, a new system, but really it's the old system, and they just ride the cycle again?
And I do thank you for joining us tonight. Ransom Godwin here along with me, David Dubine, your host, civilizationcycle.com. The world has objectively moved to the point that everybody can see it has taken a different form, or is in the very process of struggling to make a different form of itself, whatever that is coming to be. Now, you could look at anything that's happening worldwide right now, and where's an opportunity that you see in that? I don't know. The things we're seeing around us just reflect that there's a larger cycle happening right now. But so you have to ask, who knew this cycle was coming to prepare? Because it seems like everything's already ready to switch right when this cycle was on setting. It's kind of weird how those are in tandem. Seems like it was almost known, not planned, known the cycle was coming in. But again, who would have that knowledge to map thousands of years of cycles and not share it with the rest of us?
You were just talking about really how long could it be back there? And, this idea is really starting to circulate back into archaeology. And it seems like there have been a group of humans, I'm personally say like 100,000 years at least, minimum. But let's just go with 20,000 years. How about that? Or 17,000 years. This new paper out, it's not peer reviewed yet. However, it raises the same argument lots of people have raised about water cycles and how much erosion does it take to tear down, granite and sandstone, diorite, all these different kinds of stones here. And according to this study here, they're saying they're putting the pyramids, which I would say might include farming. I'm just going there. I mean, there's no linkage. I'm adding it myself because I don't see how you can make a monument like this without domesticated animals at least and food for the people, whether they were working from their own fruition or they were forced to work or whatever the case may be. You still have to feed them, which to me means farming. Yeah.
Well, and it would have to be nutritious, well-balanced foods. Because if you're
Right.
having the people doing that supposed manual labor, as we're told, chipping all that stone, they'd have to be well-fed, full of calories, a lot of protein in there, and it'd have to be incredibly balanced because they would just be the ultimate carving machine.
And that's all really that this is a new argument about the erosion, saying it can't possibly be only 4,600 years old. It must be at least 15,000 years or more. That's agreed upon by a lot of geologists now. It's not really the only thing really holding this number from going ahead and going to where the evidence says it is a group of Egyptologists and people that write history books. I mean, they don't want to have to rewrite books and know that their books were completely false because they just didn't know. But you were talking about how long it kind of takes for planning to go on. How long do you think it even took to plan something like the Great Pyramid itself, especially if you're supposed to assume that, which I can't assume that because of the level of technology, but that's the idea that these are less technologically advanced people in the far remote past, whether it's 5,000 years, 15,000 years, 20,000 years, either way, they would have had to plan it for hundreds of years even before getting started. And it would have took a long time to build it. A lot of food, a lot of manpower. And we're not even claiming that humans were doing much more than scratching their butt and living in caves at 20,000 years ago.
At best. And it asks you, the main question to be asked is why now? Why is this information coming now? The rules of money are being rewritten right in front of your eyes. The institutions that control the financial system aren't waiting, warning, or wishing. They're acting. They're buying gold and silver in an unprecedented pace. Seems they're preparing for something. The question is, are you? For nearly a decade, Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands of people protect their wealth with physical gold and silver. As the world shifts to hard assets, the window to act is closing. So let Noble Gold show you how simple it is to protect yourself and your family. While everyone else is reacting to the news, Noble Gold clients are positioned. They understand that when the rules change, you need assets that don't depend on the system. Visit 2030gold.com and download your free wealth protection kit today. That's 2030gold.com. The rules are changing. Make sure you're ready. And the February bonus for new qualified accounts, the 3-ounce American Virtues Independent Silver Round. Again, that's 2030gold.com. Click on that link in the description box below. I read that book back in, was a 94, 95 Graham Hancock. When it first came out, man, it was the earth-shattering book. Truly, it meant earth-shattering book. Fingerprints of the Gods. The very first one that challenged everything that was ever written that all the academia controlled. That came out, it blew minds away. Why now, though? So they'd been ridiculing all these people talking about the same, Robert Schoch as well. He's talking about erosion on the Sphinx, water erosion that dates it to about that same time, like 18,000 years ago, 18 to 21,000 years ago. It was like the research from Robert Schoch that shows water erosion. And I am telling you unequivocally also that this interglacial, these 10,000 years, it was forested around 6,000 years ago all across northern Africa. You could take a boat from like Yemen across the Red Sea into like Ethiopia and the Sudan and take a river system all the way over to West Africa out to the Atlantic Ocean. That's how different it was than it is today. Full of forests, estuaries, wetlands, gold trading routes. The Aksum were trading at their later stages with the Ghana Kingdom across through Middle Africa now, which was a mega lake drying out. About maybe, think of a Great Lake in today's terms, but half full. That's what was left over as it was drying out some 6,000 years ago. It was actually at its apex at 7,000. That's how different it was. So talking about that, then that has to re-explain our entire human history. So how much distraction could that create if all of a sudden the hubbub is pyramids are 20,000, 18,000 years old? Oh, there's all these experts. They talked about it. We just misdated them and made fun of them. It's all good now. Their research is the most valid. You all old dinosaur people back in the universities in your crusty basement with cobwebs, you're out. You had all the wrong information. You're outdated. Like, see how they could snip those people off right there. You talk about job reduction, snip. Okay, your information's old. All these new people. But what would that do to reset humanity? And at the same time that gold and silver, the most ancient of money, see, that's how it all ties back together. It's ancient money. It's tying back into the collapse and hyperinflation. And now we're coming back into the ages that are unbelievably to think of, at least, well, for a lot of people, 20,000 years. How could that be? And, I'd like to touch on your point in a minute here about what did the people in the last ice age do? That 10,000 years of warmth between the last ice age, warm period, ice age, now warm period. We had the same 10,000 years as those people about 118,000 years ago. What did they do for 10,000 years, 118,000 years ago? That's what I want to know too. Like, what kind of tech did they develop in those 10,000 years of warmth?
It's hard to believe that nobody was doing nothing for periods of thousands of years, right?
Impossible.
I mean, I can buy, the standard cataclysm model of being set back. However, obviously, we've never been set back all the way. In other words, each era had leftover knowledge, literature of some form, maybe oral tradition, but they also were taking over some layer of technology, obviously, because at different stages, we seem to have lost that technology, mostly, when you point to the megalithic stuff. And were they dealing with all these same problems, world wars, inflation of their monies and stuff? Do they just recycle this idea until the civilization collapses, start over, introduce new money, a new system, but really it's the old system, and they just ride the cycle again?
And they lie about the history. The thing you'd have to do is disappear the history, change the history so it wouldn't be you put two and two together pretty quick, right? If you had all the true history, yeah, they have to destroy it, the past, the last of it. So anything that was like 16th century, so like say from the 14 to the say 1700s, all those amazing cathedrals and buildings, they had to destroy every one of them. It took two world wars to do it. It's taken, the last 50 years of construction or upbuilding or upgrading to get rid of the rest. Oh, there's fires here, there's all kind of disasters in that. But going on that lane of just like how it's so far off. Everything's like a Six Sigma even thought these days. You got Six Sigma thoughts everywhere now. But the cherry on top, I guess, to put into this Six Sigma event, the Bank of England said you need to adjust your stock portfolio for an alien invasion. Not the Onion, serious. That's what. And then I started to think, like, what is the alien? Is it AI? Is it like, what is it? Is it interdimensional? Is it actually extraterrestrial? What is this alien invasion? Is it nanoparticulate? I mean, what is it? But for the Bank of England to come out and say you need to prepare for an alien invasion and adjust your stock portfolio, that's pretty, right up there with gold and silver going the highest in intraday trade ever. And then I got smashed back down and then it went right back up. It's something's very broken, which I thank you for putting the charts up here, Ransom. What do you think of them now when you see that? It's a Weimar Republic and the US dollar on silver price. A lot said, but go ahead.
I'm just thinking, where and when is the peak on these things? Because, always after the peak is the inevitable trough, at the bottom, the dip. And that's when all the wealth transferring actually happens, not the zeros and ones, but the actual properties, the metals. I'm looking over there in the Middle East. We're moving all of this stuff over there. It's been a kind of a long ride. They've been slow rolling it, but World War III is still on the table, but it might not take form in what we're used to or what we're expecting to see, which is, like World War II trenches and, everybody getting blown up and artillery and tanks. It's not even going to be that kind of thing. They're just going to be massive amounts of small localized skirmishes with AI and drones until they just take property. And then the maps just change slowly. And we're already seeing that. We're going to see, I'm going to say within the end of this summer, no more Cuba, or at least the Cuba thing that's going on there, that's been going on there for decades. That's going to morph into something else. And Iran is going to morph into something else. And that's going to be sooner than later. This all ties into the transfer of wealth, the oils, the straits, the trade agreements to allow goods to flow by and through the ports. So that's the contracting that's all changing. And it looks like, we've basically in some way or another taken Greenland as an asset. So I would say that that's pretty much a done deal. We're putting troops there as we speak. We're going to spread out. We're going to offer business and mining and all kinds of stuff. It's going to look a lot like what we're trying to do in Venezuela as well, which is revamp a new economic system. It's just a question of, will we as middle class or lower class in the terminology of the West be allowed to participate in the economic boom and growth that'll happen after the trough? And I don't think it is, because today, all day, everywhere I looked, I kept seeing the UBI idea. You know what? These AI are so good, you can still get paid. This is the deal they're offering now with the companies. You can just go home. You can still get paid. The AI system and algorithms that you help create will pay you. So if you're in the era right now that's part of it, you'll get a UBI, which is, they're going to call it something else, but basically it's a universal basic income for them to just go ahead and stay home. And then if you don't have stock or some kind of claim in any company, this is where the peasant, basically, or the middle class, get bypassed. So there's going to be specific reasons at first to give out the UBI. It's not just going to be because, you're out on the street with some addictions and you're hungry and you're cold. That's not really who they're going to offer it to. Right now, they're offering it to all the people that they want to just stop working, because they don't want this massive wave of realization to humans realizing that unskilled jobs, or jobs that aren't really that hard, or jobs that are in the cyberspace, are all being replaced, all of them. Amazon's firing tens of thousands of people every 2 months. I've been keeping track. It was like 100,000, then they let go of 20,000. I've seen another one today about 16,000 more. So more and more jobs are just going to get replaced. And this goes mostly where you're going to see it first is in government and the way that commerce runs. So the AI is going to now take care of everything that usually you would hire 10, 15, or 20 people to do. It's going to do it. But the problem is it's still faulty and vulnerable. So I don't know how they're going to really sell it on people. So what I think is about to happen is an explosion in brand new trades, brand new skills, and things to get around this AI nightmare. So people are already hungry for it in the entertainment world. It was like a novelty idea. It came out. Now it looks too real. And people are trying to avoid that. They don't want the AI slop. They want to see something real in the world. And more, and let me tell you this story before we get back to the money. They're literally taking all this science that they gathered during the 90s and early 2000s from the consumers, from the product buyers, from the viewers, from the all of the little areas in which that they take metadata from to find out how you think. They're now reversing that. They know what people think, what's averagely attractive or normal. And if someone doesn't fit that, they just switch the image. And I thought, you know what? They got busted. That's funny. So we're watching, I think it was Estrella TV, and they're using these AI photos of people, and those aren't even the people. If the video footage wasn't real. So now when they tell you that your dollar's not worth nothing because this thing happened somewhere in the world, and now you're looking at some grainy video of some event that supposedly happened, and they're telling you that this is the reason that we're about to go to war, or they're closing somebody's borders, or that the price of oil or silver or gold or something either skyrocketed or dipped. You can see how the entire thing's an AI run system already. We're already living in it. I think we were even maybe 5 to 10 years behind on even trying to realize what was happening.
Yeah, I wonder if we look back 10, 15 years ago, if there's AI stuff that we would recognize as AI now. Back then, some of the things that we looked at that we did that it's really much more advanced. It's 10, 15 years ahead of us. They're just giving it to us. That'd be interesting for somebody to look back at it. But if I could speak on demand pricing for a second and right into this AI generative, and it goes right into this hyperinflation chart. It goes all the way back to 1803. But notice that from 1803, there's hardly any inflation in the dollar when we were using sound money. So if this is any indication of what's happening, it's happening everywhere. And I absolutely tell you, it's happening to all metals and minerals and everything. I was looking at like a coin melt value site, and it showed that the penny is now the full copper penny is worth about 4.5, almost 5 cents. And a nickel right now is worth about probably 8 cents, like 7.9 cents, not quite 8. Just because the copper value inside our old coinage, and then everything you look at, the uranium prices are going up, anything you can think of. And I'm just going to say what's behind that. The one step behind that is food, because we're at 3-year highs on the energy right now. Energy is going up. It may not be the crude. They're trying to deflect you with the crude oil and the whole Venezuela thing. But who's looking over at the natural gas prices? Like the natural gas prices doubled during this last storm. And everybody's power bills are going to be exceptionally high because they had to go on the open market with like 18 states bidding with no budget for that same electricity, so their people don't get put into the dark. And they're going on how many 100 megawatt hours we're purchasing out there from the power providers. But the natural gas at that time was twice as expensive for that extra generation. So that's just going to get passed on to you because that's the price they had to pay. Well, it's an inflated price, and that's going to get passed right on to you. So look for giant higher electric bills coming up. January is going to be a shocker for a lot of people. Distant warning, nobody scans the back of your driver's license. Dynamic pricing gives you the zip code that you live in, and it knows your approximate home value. Now, just based on that one singular piece of data, let alone if you've had prior interaction with the store and you've bought things and they've rung you up once and you used a credit card to attach to that. Now they got your credit, the what you've bought in the store, what you were willing to spend on items, and they know the value of your home if they scan the back of your license. So they're starting to build a financial profile on you. And are you being charged the same at the register when you quickly grab things? It's almost like you need to write everything down on the tag And then when they scan it, you need to immediately check to see if the price is the same, because there's all these videos about people buying meat. It's not the same price. It's not the same weight that's on the labels. And I'm just thinking, and is this the future that we have? Because if you did about 3 weeks ago, they did a report on dynamic pricing, and generally supermarkets were earning an extra 3 to 8% on their revenue by using dynamic pricing. What they can build on you publicly and what you publicly give them. And that's the whole thing about these cashiers. Just by handing you the thing to even check out if you want to buy anything that needs an ID, you instantly have to allow them to scan your ID, and you're not giving them the permission to do it. They're just grabbing it as fast as they can. Also, another thing with that, putting you into a financial category that they think you'll pay more for this item, and they are absolutely rounding up. I heard a manager say they're rounding up now, and I'd heard this too, since they're disused and they went away from pennies. They're rounding up. Now, if you go onto the store, you still see like $3.99 items. So think about that, the way the pricing would be dynamically, because the label would be different. So they have a 4-cent wiggle room on each price of every single item in the whole store. If they're going to round up on you every single one because of your financial profiling, that's how they're making their extra 3 to 8% in the industry. That extra wiggle, 4 cents. Right now it's 4 cents. What's it going to be when they do away with the nickel? A whole 10 cents they can play with? You get charged 10 cents more on every single item that you buy just because you're in a certain financial category that they've tagged you on, because your zip code and your property taxes are associated to that zip code. Therefore, your home value, or you must make twice as much as those people over there. And then one last thing, Ransom, on this. Walmart would also be working into conjunction if they scan the ID to see if it is a real ID or just an old-fashioned ID. Because a lot of people in Tennessee are like, I'm not getting the real ID. But that's in the state of Tennessee, so that's a Tennessee-specific database. See, if Walmart scans your ID, that goes into their entire United States system, and then that information shared and says they don't have a real ID yet. That's the danger of this. It's far outside when you get into the multinationals, especially, and they're all in all 50 states. Then that data is shared. Well, one AG will requested that they can get that, or okay, we have to open the database. So when your corporations like Home Depots and Walmarts are scraping your data, all of the drugstores and dollar stores are doing this in Michigan, going on a year in a row. Thanks for the extra info on that.
And somebody else said something about the dollar store, which I know for a fact. That is their store policy. They want to collect that information. And the reason that they do that is because they sell that information to third parties, including medical research groups and things, who then pass on that information once again to your healthcare providers. And it's not happening yet, but you've seen how socialist healthcare's around the world. So it's not too far-fetched to figure out that they're collecting that information so that they could start cutting people off. And that kind of wraps back around to this idea of what are we going to actually start doing here, besides creating your own food. But how are you going to pay these bills?
You hit on that. Well, if you're getting AI, you'll never ever be able to save any money, and that'll put you perpetually in what you talk that surf class, where you're at the however many, let's say 100 million people get on that UBI. There's no way for them to save anything, and if that prices ever go off, if they take that system away, they literally have no net at all. That's scary, man.
And then the other thing was, like, you were talking about, the IDs and scanning it for different prices. I recently went to a mall. I did notice that when I went through the stores, there was no prices on anything at the mall, right? And malls generally are closing across America, but it shows you the corporate future of what all stores are going to be like. There's no prices. You have to scan things, and if you scan it, that links it to that personal price range that you may be getting.
And online shopping too. I mean, they got you even more wired, because if you're using a credit card, you're actually giving your banking details then. And if there's somehow like a third-party API that plugs in, that they share that data, then they could see what your category risk is for the bank, of either lending you and giving you some credit if you're taking on some debt for something, or if there's some way to see if they consider you a preferred client, because you always have this much in your bank account. There's always this much. It never deviates. It never goes ever below this much. So you're this category of person. Like, what kind of data can they siphon off of that by knowing your credit card, working with a third-party provider, as they call them?
This universal basic income is going to work into this other idea of having your ID and your medical history and your travel and everything all on this digital biometrics. Excuse me. I don't know why I went brain dead. But that'll be all tied in here. And, this whole article talks about how great it is that this lady, she's 27, she gets to stay home. She gets so much money per month now, and she just chooses how to spend it. But what they leave out is what you said right there is you're going to have to choose to spend it on bills. That's what's going to
Yeah, that's
happen.
1,500
You're going to
barely
have
covers
rent, bills.
shit in America anymore.
Those things aren't going to go away. They're only going to go up. So you're going to have to increasingly have a reason to have a bigger UBI every month for depending on who you are for your needs, right? But that's not what it's catering to. This is like a snack to trick you into thinking you're going to get a good dinner. This is like the free bread at the table at Olive Garden to fill you up, where you're going to overspend thinking you're hungry, but you're not here. That's kind of like this, except for the dinner's never going to come at the end. You just get the snack every month. It's just a snack because, like you said, it'll just work out to just how much you need on bills and maybe a little food, and you might be able to buy a trinket off of Amazon, but you're not going to be able to, maybe invest in a portfolio or buy a house or, things like that that will actually promote security for your financial future. Those things are going by the wayside. You're going to see one of these programs come out and they're going to pitch it like, hey, look, you're not on welfare. You've got a universal basic income. You're not on welfare. This isn't help. This is just, you deserve this. But the problem is obviously 9 billion people can't take this much out of any system and it be worth anything once it's divided by everybody, right? So it's a bait and switch. So what they're going to do is they're going to offer all this while the jobs disappear. And then one day they're just going to say, well, you know what? Like we have to close the government, which they're about to probably do again in January because we can't pay things. I'm sorry about that, but you can't get your universal basic income for a while here.
So let me comment on that for a second, that $1,600 there. Because you have to think about how is that money coming in? Okay, well, the government's selling debt and then they're just getting money for free, payable 30 years in the future, 20 years in the future to pay you $1,600 now. All right, so where's this coming from? Who's buying this debt? So $1,600, I would look at it that and I would say, okay, so I'm going to get this every month, right? I can get this each month,
Yeah,
but I
that's
can't
the
have another
idea.
job. I can only take this and that's it. Well, they
Like
give it to you extra
rules.
in addition to your job in the beginning for like the first 3-year bonus ransom. You got to get on it.
Yeah, and this is actually, I think it was for several years. It was a deal like yeah, you know what it was like? It was like whenever you get fired and they give you they give you a
Severance.
nice severance check to take home.
It's a
And
nice severance check. I don't know what world you're living in, my friend.
no, but that's basically what it is. It's to tie people over so that they don't realize the
You'll
impact
land
of
on
all
your
the
feet.
job losses.
So wait,
You know,
let me go back to the $1,600. I was trying to formulate a thought here. Like I would use that 1,600 to make money.
yeah.
So I'm looking at, so I have a farm here. So I look at that, go $1,600. All right. How much would you pay somebody to come out and help you with just general farm work? Nothing super specific. We plant here. We need to dig this up. We need to put the poles in. We need to chainsaw and this thing goes in the truck. We need to move the rocks, whatever. Like 16, how much would you think per hour on just a regular farm work like that? Give me a number.
16 what you could do with $1,600 on a
Yeah, in
farm?
terms of labor, like if you could hire somebody else out to come and help you, how much would you charge per hour to do that physical labor of that a farm? $10, $15, $20, divide that 30 if you know how to do woodwork or whatever, but divide that by 1,600. How many hours do I get? If somebody else helping me would save 25% for materials, and then I'd have a second person help me build something out, whether it be plant more trees that produce more fruit, chainsaw more things and split it into logs to sell cords of wood, just anything to help hire somebody else to help me build out the farm more. So that's the way my direction will go with it. I'm looking at that's like free money for me to get more resources to help me do more on the physical realms around the farm.
Well, I mean that is a nice idea, but obviously they're going to stop with it's not going to be an open-ended payment. It's just going to be a trick. But with $1,600, I'm sure you could get one employee just 12, $13 an hour to get 80 hours out of them before you had to do that again. If you did it about what, $10 an hour, there's 100 hours right there. So if you paid them a little more, it's going to decrease in hours. That's why I said about 80 hours at 11 or $12 per hour. And then,
Hmm.
they're going to stand around looking at their phone and
That's
waiting
why you
on
need
their.
to be there with them. I found that when I hire people, I absolutely need to be with them. That's the whole point though, is I want to do that, but it's going to take me 4 times longer just by myself or just one other person helping me and
You know,
directing them along. I know what I'm doing. All right, help me lift this. Okay, this bitch, you know.
I've always found that never works out. The one guy that you get that doesn't know what you're doing and you have to explain everything every time. It ends up being that you're paying yourself to babysit someone else instead of them doing their own thing and you doing your own thing. You end up doing their thing because they don't know how to do it. So
That's
you're
why you
just
try to get people who know how to do things first. That's the whole point of having a skill. I would hire somebody with a skill like you just said. That's perfect. You have a
I know,
skill and
but
you understand how to do. I will hire you so much faster. You make your head spin. I'm doing exactly what you said. Training somebody how to do. You don't even know how to like run a
that's the
chainsaw. You're
problem,
supposed to be
right?
running a saw and helping clean up the forest, but it's the first time you've seen a chainsaw. Like, no, I want somebody who's already sawed, knows what a log ox is, knows how to leverage something. Like leverage, literally leverage.
Now you're only talking 20 or 30 hours a month now if you got that person that knows how to do things.
Yeah, they cost more money, wouldn't they?
Yeah. They
The
got
person you're
their
talking.
own UBI supposedly, which you
Yeah.
can see how the money becomes worthless after no time at all when everybody's getting the same thing. This is a project for all the viewers. You too, David. Hook up your antenna, watch the local TV, and then count out how many things that they're asking for money because they have a formula that they figure you have at least $20 a month you could give to them, whether it's cancer, the veterans, the puppies and kittens. It doesn't matter. It'll be 63 cents a day. And every few months, that number changes to like 64 or 65 because they're using an algorithm to figure out exactly how many cents they could pull off of someone for about $20 a month. So, say you feel bad for 3 of those things. I like veterans, those poor cancer kids, the poor animals. Now you're dishing out $60, which is 63 times 3 per day, and then they're going to round it up like you were saying before. All of that stuff's going to end if people are getting universal basic incomes because they're going to realize they never get ahead. So that's why I was saying we're about to have a renaissance. I think the more of these jobs go to AI, the more real people with time are going to sit there and invent new products and new things and new services that circumvent that AI system.
Thanks for joining. I hope you got something out of the video. Please support us, buymeacoffee.com/civilization cycle if you like information like this. That link's in the description box below. And if you would like to be a guest on the Civilization Cycle podcast or would like to suggest a guest to join us here on the Civilization Cycle podcast, send us a message at civilizationcyclepodcast@protonmail.com. And visit us at civilizationcycle.com to sign up for the weekly show notes for the live show every Thursday night, 10 p.m. to midnight. 10 bullet points so you can keep the conversation going with others, and keywords so you can do some of your own research. Civilizationcycle.com. We'll see you next show. Bye for now.